Welcome to Life in My Greenhouse. Today, I'm sharing this delicious recipe for what can only be described as a mouth-watering meatloaf pie. I'll share my shortcut tips and some unexpected ingredients to make your meatloaf pie irresistible. You'll also be able to assemble this recipe the night before and bake it when you're ready. This meatloaf pie is an absolute crowd pleaser, but don't take my word for it. Let's get into the kitchen. To make the most delicious meatloaf pie, be sure to watch right until the end. If you miss anything, not to worry. I'll provide you with a complete list of all the ingredients at the end of the video. Start by placing a saucepan with 2 cups of water on medium heat. Peel and dice 2 russet potatoes and add them to your boiling water. We'll also need the following ingredients for this recipe: 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of thyme, 1 teaspoon of parsley, 1 teaspoon of white pepper, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of salt, 1 onion, a quarter of a pepper, 1 cup of frozen veggies, 1 tablespoon of tomato paste, 1 pound of ground meat, 2 cloves of garlic, a half cup of breadcrumbs, and 1 cup of shredded cheddar and mozzarella cheese. This amazing blend of ingredients will result in the most delicious, mouth-watering meatloaf pie. If you're cooking along with me, go ahead and dice your onions and peppers. Then crush your garlic and set aside. To a saucepan on medium heat, add 2 tablespoons of oil. Add your onions and peppers and saute. We'll then add our ground meat to the pan. I'm using ground beef, but you can use whatever you prefer. Ground turkey, ground chicken. You can also replace your meat with beans or lentils to make a vegetarian option. Personally, I love a customizable recipe because we don't all have the same taste. So feel free to make it your own. The sky's the limit. Then go ahead and smash your meat inside of the pan. This is one of my new favorite tools to use in the kitchen. It really comes in handy. I'll provide you with the link in the description if you're wondering where to find it. As your meat begins to caramelize, go ahead and add the garlic to the pan. Continue to cook until your meat is completely brown. At this point, we'll now add all the spices to the pan. Now, I'm afraid I must caution you to be prepared for unexpected visitors, as the aroma will tantalize your neighbors. Continue to stir your meat mixture as we build the flavors of your meatloaf. Allow your meat and spices to simmer for 4 minutes, stirring occasionally. Now add a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. You can also add a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper if you prefer a spicier meatloaf. Now add your tomato paste to the mixture. Once your potatoes are cooked, add half a cup of the potato starch water to the pan. We'll add the other half shortly. The starch in the water will help to bind all of the ingredients in our meatloaf pie. Continue to cook on medium heat until most of the liquid is absorbed. Continue to stir your meat. We'll then introduce the potatoes to the pan. Mash the potatoes into the meat mixture. The potatoes will add density to your meatloaf pie, making it velvety, rich, and creamy. It will also help to prevent our meatloaf from drying out when we place it in the oven. Next, it's time to add your frozen veggies. Once combined, we'll add our breadcrumbs to the pan. We'll now add the remaining half cup of potato water to the pan. Continue to cook until the water is completely absorbed. Your mixture should look like this. And for the moment we've been waiting for, it's time to get your meatloaf into a pie crust. In order to save time, we're going to use a shortcut ingredient: puff pastry sheets. I'll only be using 1 sheet from this package. I decided to use my oval baking dish for this very fancy meatloaf pie. I want my pie to be extra flaky, so I folded up my layers. Roll out your puff pastry until it fits the dimensions of your baking dish. You can use this technique to transfer your dough to your pie dish. If you're worried about it sticking, go ahead and grease your baking dish. Carefully roll out your dough onto your baking dish. Trim away the excessive dough. I'll be using the trimmings to top my meatloaf pie. go ahead and roll it out to the length of your casserole dish. Now you can roll up your dough for easy transfer onto your pie. I decided to test out my pastry cutter. I thought it would be nice to have an easy lattice top for my pie. You don't have to do this step. You can go ahead and just lay your pie crust on top of your pie, trimming away the extra edges and pinching it all around. Be sure to add some air pockets in the top if you're using that method. If you don't have puff pastry on hand, you could put your meatloaf into a pie shell. This recipe works well either way, as you'll be able to top it off with cheese for a beautiful crust. Now that our top is complete, let's add our meatloaf filling. Add only half of the mixture and spread evenly. Next, add half of your shredded cheese. It's really starting to come together. If you like what you see, smash the like button. Add the remaining meat mixture on top of the cheese. Using a fork, spread it out evenly. Now go ahead and top with the rest of your cheese. Fold the edges of your pie crust inward. Now go ahead and roll your top onto your pie. I then cut away my excess pastry, tucking the edges neatly around the dish. Brush the top of your pie with an egg wash. As a make-ahead option, you can now place your pie in the fridge and bake it the next day. You can also place it in the freezer, and when you're ready to bake, defrost in the fridge overnight. Bake in a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for approximately 50 to 60 minutes. When you remove your pie from the oven, let it rest for 15 minutes. If you can stand it, I promise you it will be well worth it. And just like that, you've made this delicious, game-changing meatloaf pie. Your family will adore you. Your spouse will stand in awe at your culinary genius. Your friends will celebrate the amazing human that you are. And to that I say, you're very welcome. I've provided you with a recipe card with the full list of ingredients right here. If you don't mind doing me a favor, now that we're sharing recipes, consider subscribing to our channel. In order for me to welcome you personally, please type meatloaf in the comments. Also, if you appreciate delicious recipes such as these, can you give this video a thumbs up? Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please let me know what you think of this recipe in the comments. Share the love by sending it to a friend. Take care of yourself, my beloved. And remember, the grass is always greener where you water it. See you next time.